Sensei, I did what you taught me. I showed mercy. Why did this happen to me? I don't know. You don't know. I trusted you. I did everything that you told me.
Miguel.
Look at me!
When bad things happen to us or people we care about, the first thing that often comes to mind is why? What did I do or what did they do to deserve this? It's not fair. The paradox is that this can often come with a sort of survivor's guilt, where we question why we might be one of the lucky ones while others around us are suffering. We can't help but wonder, what was the reason behind all of it? As we search for some sort of validation to make things make sense, it often leads us to a dark place of confusion, loneliness, anger, fear, and a whole host of feelings that prevent us from being truly healed. As kids, we're taught if we do the right thing, things are going to work out. Practice good karma. What goes around comes around. You've heard all the cliches. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. In fact, a lot of times it doesn't. This is one of the biggest lessons we have to learn as we grow, and it's also one of the hardest things to watch people go through when all we want to do is protect them and see them flourish. In Season 3 of Cobra Kai, we witnessed the aftermath of the fight that left Miguel critically injured, and what we see is a reflection of the way many of us struggle when we thought we did the right thing, but things didn't turn out the way we thought they would. Now, I am guessing most of the people watching this video haven't been kicked off a second-story balcony and ended up in the hospital nearly paralyzed from a fight with a rival, but we've all been kicked down by life to where we feel paralyzed and afraid to get up and keep going. Think back to Sam. When she tries to make things right, she ends up freezing and unable to protect her friends like she believed she could. How many of us have been in that same situation? We want to do the right thing, but when the time comes, the right words just won't come out. The courage we envisioned we would have doesn't show up. Anxiety and fear take hold and we simply do nothing. The thought of that kind of failure leaves many people shattered and, like Sam, become a sort of shell of a person as we retreat into ourselves. The third season focuses a lot on Sam and Miguel's coming to terms with what happened and why. What's interesting is, the answers are never really clear. There's never this aha moment that they realized there was a deeper meaning behind what happened. The answers they were looking for had nothing to do with the questions they were asking. Like most of us, we only want to know why things happen so we can justify it in our mind, but what we really want to know is, where do I go from here? When those who trusted us ask us that question, why me? It's not selfish for them to ask the question, but it is prideful for us to think we have the right answer or the right words of inspiration. We often feel like we have to take the Daniel route and tell them, keep going, don't give up, don't give in to fear, or in the case of Johnny, suck it up. But the most honest thing is when Johnny says, I don't know. The real answer is, sometimes there is no reason for why. Sometimes life just happens. Sometimes bad things happen to good people and good things happen for bad people. When you are responsible for other people, you feel a sense of duty to make things make sense. But ultimately, if you try to take ownership of something you had no control over, you aren't leading, you're being prideful. It's not about you. It's not up to you to decide why something happens or it didn't happen, why it happens to some people and not others. It's not your responsibility to give meaning to something. It's your privilege to help others find their own meaning. In the movie Black Hawk Down, during one of my favorite scenes, one soldier named Hoot explains this to Sergeant Eversman, who is trying to find meaning in the death of one of his soldiers as he begins to go down the path of hindsight, which Hoot thankfully prevents him from getting lost on. Hoot explains that thinking about the woulda, shoulda, coulda doesn't help anything, and that dwelling on it isn't going to bring his man back or get his other men home safely. Though Hoot is speaking about this in the context of war, we can apply it to life as well.
So you're thinking, don't. Because, Sergeant, you can't control who gets hit or who doesn't. Who falls out of a chopper or why. It ain't up to you. It's just war.
Well, Smith's still dead. Blackburn wouldn't have fallen, none of this would have happened.
Listen, should have or could have, it don't matter. We'll get plenty of time to think about all that later. Believe me.
Leading isn't always about solving every problem or having an answer for everything. Daniel tries to problem solve Sam's problems away for her by encouraging her to restart the one sport she thought was the cause of everything. This only pushes her further away from him. Johnny tries to problem solve Miguel's fear of never being able to walk again by over pushing him physically. Ironically, Miguel learns to walk when he stopped focusing on it, and Sam overcame her fear when she had no choice. The point is, when both were dwelling on the why, they didn't realize they could. Only when they were allowed to feel what they needed to feel did they find what they were looking for. As Heidi Turner in South Park says to Cartman during one of his many meltdowns, it's not about problem solving, Eric. It's about people getting together and feeling what they need to feel. People need help sorting out their emotions, and sometimes the best thing isn't always quick answers, but just being there, supporting each other, and talking through those feelings. When I coach people, I often tell them to never get too down by the bad in life, but never get too excited about the good either. Instead, take comfort in the simple things, the small victories. Don't wait for that major promotion to celebrate your achievements, and don't wait for that terminal cancer diagnosis to do the things you never do. Never live for the highs and dread the lows. Enjoy the day-to-day things. Be thankful for the warm weather in the summer, or a warm jacket on a cold day, or a smile from a stranger, or hitting all the green lights on your way home from work. There's no why in those things, but they're still blessings all the same. So how do you do this? Well, you start with gratitude. Have a grateful heart. Think about everything you have and be grateful for it. Think about everything you don't have and be grateful that someone else may have it. When you are a leader, lead with gratitude. Your mindset will begin to change, and when things go bad, you'll have a deeper understanding of how to connect with someone who needs your support, but instead of false promises and encouragement, you'll do it from a place of wisdom. If you aren't leading with a grateful heart, you're doing a disservice to those who depend on you. A grateful heart is understanding, not focused on being right. It takes time, though, to develop a grateful mindset. Start off each morning thinking of 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for, and then, when you go to bed, think about your day and remember 1 or 2 things you're grateful for that happened to you during the day. In time, your mindset will begin to change. Remember, when Miguel realized he could use his legs, both him and Johnny said thank you to each other, because it was then that they realized they had gratitude and they could overcome what they thought they couldn't.